Hello Tigers, and welcome to the TMNtv newscast for Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019. Stay tuned for the latest news at Fort Hays State University and around Northwest Kansas and the nation. I am Lauren Davis, and Jenna Hawley will be here shortly with a look at what's going on around the globe. And Haley White will fill you in on what's happening in the sports world. But first, here's what's making news in Tigerland. After whittling down the record number of entries to 8 finalists, one team walked away with a $6,000 payout last weekend to cap off the Faulkner Challenge at FHSU. Haley Jones, Adam Shivey, Hayden Hutchinson, and Pablo Garcia led Safe Drop to the first place finish. Safe Drop is a form of gunshot detection software to notify law enforcement and warn app users in the vicinity of an active shooter situation. Second place went to Wright Enterprises, which has started its own line of sunflower oil products. Third place went to Calliope, which is a cosmetic company selling high-quality lotions, soap, and other skincare products. The event included competitors from high school, college, and several community members. A total of 27 business plans were trimmed down to the 8 finalists. Those 21 and older now have an option for a bit stronger beer at convenience and grocery stores. As of Monday, state law changed to allow convenience stores and places that sell groceries to sell beer with a 6% alcohol content. Previously, the limit was 3.2%. The change also allows liquor stores to sell some non-alcoholic products such as pop, snacks, and tobacco products. To find out more about this change, read TMN reporter Tristan Knapp's story at tigermedianet.com. A second person was arrested recently in connection with the February murder of a Hays man. Kylie Jo Elizabeth Waldschmidt, 24, in Hays, was arrested March 22nd and charged with aiding and abetting felony murder with an alternative charge of aggravated assault or aggravated battery. She also was charged with interference with law enforcement. The alleged crimes carry a possible prison sentence of at least 25 years. The charges stem from a February 27th incident in which 26-year-old Diego Galloway was shot and killed in the 2700 block of Indian Trail. Ryan Paul Thompson, 34, was later arrested for the alleged crimes and faces first-degree murder charges. He's also charged with possession of meth with intent to distribute and criminal possession of a firearm by a felon. Thompson allegedly shot Galloway in the back of the head while having him in a chokehold. Thompson has a criminal past that dates back to his late teenage years, and he recently was arrested last summer in Hays for battery and drug charges, as well as child endangerment. Waldschmidt and Thompson both remain in jail. 2 of the state's top law enforcement officers called it quits last week amid allegations of wrongdoing. The Wichita Eagle reported Colonel Mark Bruce and Lieutenant Colonel Randy Moon left the Kansas Highway Patrol after an anonymous email began circling in the state house. The source claimed there were several allegations against Kansas Highway Patrol leadership. One of the allegations in an email claimed Moon was involved in a domestic violence incident in Missouri in December. Late last week, Governor Laura Kelly's office said Bruce and Moon had been placed on administrative leave and had both submitted resignations. Kelly named Shawnee County Sheriff Herman Jones as the KHP's new superintendent. He eventually will face confirmation by the state Senate to officially hold the position. A prosecutor had a second case sent back to district court recently by the Kansas Supreme Court. The state's highest court said Special Prosecutor Jackie Spradling misstated evidence to inflame the passions of the jury in the trial of 24-year-old Jacob Ewing, who was found guilty of 2 counts of rape and 4 counts of aggravated criminal sodomy, among other charges, in 2017. The Topeka Capital-Journal also said Spradling had a case remanded back to district court in the double murder trial of Dana Chandler. In both cases, the Supreme Court ruled Spradling misled juries on multiple occasions in both trials. Chandler faces a retrial in June, while Ewing's case was remanded back to district court. Ewing's alleged crimes sent shockwaves through the small town of Holton, and his original trial on the charges grabbed statewide attention. 2 men were killed last week after being struck by a car along a south-central Kansas highway. Robert Christensen, 64, and Thomas Faust, 56, were riding their bicycles near Medicine Lodge. They were struck from behind by 44-year-old James Ramey. Faust died at the scene, while Christensen later died at Medicine Lodge Memorial Hospital. Law enforcement continued to investigate what led to the incident along U.S. Highway 160. FHSU students continually stand out above the rest, and that's the case for a graduate student from the small town of Wilson. Ashley Templeton was honored with a 2019 Award of Excellence for Outstanding Parent and Family Relations Professional by NASPA, Student Affairs Administrations in Higher Education. Templeton is active on campus and is a graduate assistant for new student and family programs in the Division of Student Affairs. NASPA is the largest student affairs professional organization in the U.S. When we return from this short break, Jenna will be here with news from around the globe.
I think there's a perception out there that web and mobile application development is this field where you sit behind a computer all day and code. And that's not it at all, right? And there's even a perception out there that geek is bad. But I think students should embrace their inner geek. We don't code all day. We look at issues, we look at problems, and try to figure out the pieces of the puzzle and how to put them together to build things.
I was able to learn JavaScript, HTML, CSS, PHP, just kind of the whole 9 yards with that. So I really enjoyed the full program that they offered here.
Anything that you're interested in, the field of web and mobile application development, there's a value to. There's nothing like what we have in the informatics department. If you choose to take everything in the buffet that we offer, you'll be very well prepared for any type of job opportunity that's out there.
Hello Tigers, I'm Jenna Hawley and here's what's going on around the globe. Flooding in the Midwest now threatens the safety of more than 1 million private water wells. The National Groundwater Association estimates people living in more than 300 counties across 10 states have their groundwater threatened from bacterial and industrial contamination. According to NGWA's Regulatory Affairs Manager, the most immediate concern is that the floodwaters are contaminated with anything they have picked up and moving across the ground. The waters can carry bacterial contamination from flooded wastewater treatment plants, septic tank systems, or animal waste from farms. Oil, gasoline, and pesticide residues can also be mixed into the waters. According to WTVR, water from public water systems is federally regulated, while water from private wells doesn't have the same safety nets to protect against contamination. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates more than 12 million households across the country rely on private wells for their water. The Midwest has been experiencing record flooding this year caused by rapid snowmelt, heavy rain, and late snowfall. President Donald Trump's pledge to close the U.S. border with Mexico has caused border officials to raise questions over the government being able to do so. On Sunday, acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney said it would take something dramatic for the president's mind to change. He also restated Trump's pledge to cut hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to certain Central American countries over the illegal immigration issues. According to Business Insider, Trump renewed attacks on Mexico last week for failing to curtail illegal immigration. He threatened to close the border on Friday if the country didn't act. The president tweeted on Saturday, "Next step is to close the border. This will also help us with stopping the drug flow from Mexico." Border and administration officials question whether the order could be put into effect. Economists and political opponents have stated that sealing off the border with the U.S.'s third largest trading partner could cause mass job losses and price hikes. A U.S. Customs and Border Protections official said the administration has provided no details about the president's intentions. The official also said that to close the borders, the administration would need to notify both Congress and labor unions representing border officials. On Monday, the Supreme Court rejected a challenge to Missouri's system for lethal injection. The challenge was brought forward by Russell Buckley, a convicted murderer sentenced 22 years ago to death. Buckley asked the state to not to sentence him to death using nitrogen gas instead of by lethal injection. According to NBC News, he said the lethal injection would make the extensive tumors in his throat rupture, causing him intense suffering. By a 5-4 vote, the court said he failed to show that an alternative execution would be better. Justice Neil Gorsuch said Bucklew failed to meet a legal test the court laid out in 2008 when it upheld a lethal injection. In order to challenge that system, a death row inmate must identify some alternative that is feasible, readily implemented, and that would significantly reduce a substantial risk of severe pain. Justice Stephen Brewer said Bucklew prevailed on both supporting his claim with the law and evidence. The U.S. blocked Turkey from receiving equipment until its NATO ally cancels an order of Russian missile defense system. Washington has grown frustrated over Turkey's order of Russia's S-400 Triumph. Turkey has also ordered 30 of the F-35 stealth fighters and plans to buy more than 100 in total, according to the manufacturer. According to NBC News, Turkey has already received 2 of the jets. They are currently being kept at Arizona's Luke Air Force Base, where Turkish pilots are training with them. The acting Pentagon spokesman said in a statement on Monday, the United States has been cleared that Turkey's acquisition of the S-400 is unacceptable. Should Turkey procure the S-400, their continued participation in the F-35 program is at risk. Turkey agreed to buy the S-400 from Russia in 2017, a deal that is reportedly worth $2.5 billion and set to begin delivery in July. The U.S. suspension represents the first major concrete step in trying to force Turkey to rethink. Vice President Mike Pence said in February that the U.S. will not stand idly by while NATO allies purchase weapons from our adversaries. A Ukrainian comedy actor has thrashed the incumbent in the first round of the country's presidential elections. Vladimir Zelensky, who has no political experience, secured 30.4% of the vote on Sunday, while Ukraine's current leader received 17.8%. According to NBC News, with no one expected to secure a majority when the final results are confirmed, the 2 largely pro-EU candidates are set to go head-to-head in a runoff vote later this month. Market participants are likely to monitor whether the country's next president will favor reforms needed to keep Ukraine in an internationally monetary fund bailout program. The presidential elections are the first national vote since Russia annexed Crimea in early 2014. An Eastern Chinese kindergarten teacher was arrested after 23 students became ill in a suspected act of deliberate poisoning. The city police said the teacher is believed to have poisoned children's food with sodium nitrate. According to NBC News, overexposure to sodium nitrate can be toxic and possibly fatal. School children in China are often the targets of fatal attacks by people who hold grudges or who are considered mentally ill. Police say they were still looking for a motive in last week's attack. That's what's happening in the news world this week. Stay tuned for a sports update with Haley White when we return.
The Tiger Media Network is Fort Hays State University's independent student media organization. It's a student employment opportunity where you can work for either the news side or the sports side. So you can be on live sports production, which produces all of the live sports broadcasts that we do, or you could be on the news side and do news stories covering things on campus, so presidential announcements, Student Government Association. We bring that news to the student community and the Hays community as well.
You don't realize how much Fort Hays State has to offer until you're here.
I mean, it is definitely, this is the land of opportunity here.
I just got back from the MIAA tournament in Kansas City a couple weeks ago where we worked with other production crews, including Pitt State and Central Missouri. And it's a great time. I've gone there the last couple of years.
For me anyway, I get to do sports, which is what I love. And if live productions is where that's at, this is the perfect place to do it. We have almost everything that you could possibly imagine.
Tiger Media Network allows you the opportunity to take the skills you've learned and put them forward in a real world, real application setting that allows you to flourish and grow as a professional, and that will only help you and benefit you when you graduate and go into the real world workforce.
Hello Tigers, I'm Haley White bringing you a sports update. The FHSU track and field team capitalized on its only chance to compete in front of a home crowd this season, claiming first place finishes in multiple events during the Alex Francis Classic last week. Coming off his indoor nationals appearance, Philip Landrum topped his competition in the 200 meters with a 21.37 second finish. Indoor All-American runner Brett Meyer earned his first place in the 800 meters as he finished well under 2 minutes. Colt Newell and Cameron Fouts took first in field events as the high jumper produced a 6 foot 6 3/4 inch finish, and Fouts threw the javelin for 184 feet 9 inches. The Tigers also claimed first in the javelin and high jump on the women's side as Alexia Deitcher produced a winning throw for 146 feet 3 inches, and Summer Craigle jumped for a 5 feet 3 inch finish. Runner Yessie Gonzalez also captured first as she ran the 5,000 meters in 18 minutes and 37 seconds. The Tigers are back in action this Saturday as they will travel to Boulder to compete in the Colorado Invitational. FHSU softball produced a solid 2-day performance at Tiger Stadium this week as the team split a pair with Northeastern State on Monday and finished in the same fashion on Tuesday as collecting a win against the number 2 ranked Central Oklahoma squad. The Tigers rallied twice for the lead and held the Riverhawks off with a 4-3 win during Game 1. Northeastern State responded in Game 2 to earn the split as the team plated 9 runs and allowed the Tigers to 4. After going scoreless in the first 2 innings, UCO got the bats going in the following frames as the Broncos tacked on 7 runs, including a grand slam in the 3rd. Sarah Breckbill's RBI single brought in Taryn Caldwell for the Tigers only to run in Game 1, which led Fort Hays to fall 7-1. The Tigers switched roles in Game 2, and it was ultimately Breckbill's walk-off hit in the 8th that led the Tigers to a 7-6 win over the 2nd-ranked Broncos. Pitcher Haley Chapman moved to 8-6 overall as she allowed 7 hits and 6 walks while striking out 9. The UCO win was the first time the Tigers have beat a ranked team in over 3 years, as the last one dating back to the 2016 season. Fort Hays is also the only MIAA team to beat the Broncos this season, as the team's only other losses came from non-conference opponents. The Tigers will host a pair of doubleheaders this weekend as they take on Missouri Western on Saturday, followed by Northwest Missouri State on Sunday. FHSU football has announced its annual spring football scrimmage, which is set to take place Saturday, April 13th at Lewis Field. While kickoff is slated for 1 p.m., the Tigers also plan to host a youth football camp for 1st through 6th graders that day from 10 a.m. until noon. Camps for other age groups will be held in the summer as the dates have been set for the month of June. From the 9th to the 11th, the 11-man team camp will be hosted at Lewis Field, followed by 8-man team camp on the 13th through the 15th. On June 22nd, Fort Hays will host a prospect camp where incoming grades 9th through 12th can participate. For more information on the upcoming events, visit FHSU Athletics homepage or Sports in Kansas profile on Twitter. A straight 14 points from Lipscomb was too much for Wichita State to come back from Tuesday night, ultimately sealing the Shockers' fate in the semifinals of the NIT contest. The 71-64 final score gave WSU its 4th loss the Shockers' last 18 matchups. Wichita State ends the season with a 22-15 overall record and 10-8 in conference play under head coach Greg Marshall. Lipscomb will go on to face Texas in the NIT championship tomorrow night inside Madison Square Garden. Tip-off is slated for 7 p.m. on ESPN. The madness of March bleeds into April as the weekend was full of upsets and busted brackets in the college basketball. Auburn has proven to be a lethal force in the Midwest after capping a 97-80 win over the number 1 seed UNC, followed by a 77-71 takedown of Kentucky, claiming the region in the Final Four. Texas Tech is the sole representation of not only the Big 12, but the West region of the tournament after the team upset number 1 Gonzaga 75-69. The East region was also upset over the weekend as number 2 Michigan State sealed a 68-67 win over Mike Krzyzewski and the Duke Blue Devils. The only number 1 seed to remain alive in the tournament is Virginia, who collected an 80-79 win over Purdue, which led them to take the spot in the Final Four for the South. Virginia became the first number 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed in tournament history after the Cavaliers fell to UMBC 74-54 a year ago. All 4 teams will compete this Saturday in Minneapolis as Michigan State takes on Tech and Auburn faces Virginia. Players who left an imprint on the NCAA tournament have earned a spot in the 2019 class of the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, and they will be enshrined in Kansas City next fall. The players include Larry Johnson, Shane Battier, Calbert Cheaney, Terry Dischinger, Ernie DiGregorio, and Todd Lichty. Johnson was a force on UNLV's NCAA championship team in 1990. He averaged 21.6 points and 11.2 rebounds in his 2 seasons with the Running Rebels. Battier reached the championship game in 2001 and captured the title with Duke, where he was named National Player of the Year. Cheaney remains the career scoring leader in the Big Ten with 2,613 points, for which he set in 1993 for Indiana. Dischinger was a scoring and rebounding machine for Purdue in the early 60s. He was also a member of the 1960 U.S. Olympic team that earned a gold medal. DiGregorio averaged 20.5 points for Providence and led the team to a 1973 Final Four. Lichty led Stanford to the NCAA tournament in 1989 for the first time since 1942. Sporting Kansas City looks to cap the first leg of the semifinals in the Champions League as the underdog Thursday night as it takes on powerhouse CF Monterrey on the road. Standing as the only MLS alive in the Champions League field, Sporting looks to become the MLS squad to claim the title since the tournament's modern era began in 2008. Leg 1 is set to begin at 9 p.m. and can be viewed on the Sporting KC app or Yahoo Sports app. An umpire's call may have cost the Kansas City Royals a chance to win last night over the Minnesota Twins at Kauffman Stadium. Several pitches prior to Nelson Cruz's RBI single in the top of the 10th, he hit a ball down the third baseline that looked to be a foul but was ruled fair by the umpire, which extended his time at bat. Cruz singled through a shifted infield and put the Twins ahead, and the Royals couldn't score in the bottom of the inning, which led to the 5-4 loss. Kansas City looks to bounce back as the Royals and Twins play for round 2 today. That concludes this episode. Tune in next week for another episode of TMNtv. To stay up to date on the latest news and information throughout the week, visit tigermedianet.com. Until then, remember, roar Tigers.